So today I want to talk about one of my favorite speed control techniques, and that is the soul slide. I use this technique all the time to manage my speed when I'm city or urban free skating. It's incredibly versatile, and it's just a really great tool that I feel like every urban skater should learn. Because we're talking about it as a speed control technique, we're not overly concerned about, well, we're not really concerned at all about perfect form in the way it looks, just about a controlled way of causing friction with your skate. So let's see what one looks like at kind of a normal speed. So I'm going to talk about the technique in 4 parts. So the first is going to be squat, and that's just getting low. The next is going to be shift, where you shift some weight to this supporting skate. The third is going to be carve, where this sliding skate comes out. And then the fourth one is kind of hard to show while I'm standing still here, and that is extend. And that's where your leg is going to not be bent anymore and fully extended. And I don't mean like a hard lock at the knee, but you're going to make that sliding skate become rigid, and that's basically what's going to kind of break friction and start sliding. So let's go over why each bit of this is important and what it does to help you slide. So squat is almost a given pretty much with anything on inline skates. You always want to bend your knees, you always want to stay low, right? In this particular instance, it helps us get lower, and the lower we are, the greater of an angle we can get with that sliding skate. The weight shift helps take the weight off of that sliding skate. And then the carve is just kind of there really to keep you safe as you get into the position you want to stop carving and finally kind of start the slide. So what that carve does is it keeps the base. And I'll show them now at a slower speed. Squat, shift, carve, extend. I think maybe the most important part of all 4 of those, of the squat, shift, carve, and extend, is this shift part. And that has to do with weight distribution. And I'm actually going to take my skates off to explain that part. Because I think a lot of people think that, oh, to engage this slide, I need to drive into it, I need to push into it. It's about power, it's about pushing. And it's quite the opposite. You want to relieve pressure from that sliding skate. So you're not just squatting down and sticking your leg out, right? Because if I do that, if I squat, carve my leg out, if you notice, I'm kind of leaning forward and I'm being supported on that front skate. And my rear skate is my rear leg is not, I'm not sitting back on it and being supported by it. So what you're actually going to do is you're going to squat and shift. And you're going to shift your weight over to this supporting leg. So that now, that other leg is free, and you can practice this, right? Just kind of sit back on that supporting skate and see if you can do really light, really slow toe touches. Now it's important to note that getting nice and light on the sliding skate is the start of the slide. So it can be a temporary weight distribution. Because I know what you're thinking, if I take all of the weight off of the sliding skate and it's barely touching the ground, then it's not really helping me stop, is it? And that's a good question to have. What you want to do is you start really shallow with it, really light, a nice light touch, and then once you're sliding, you can adjust it how you want. You can adjust it kind of vertically, meaning I'll put more weight forward or backward, and you can also adjust the angle of the sliding skate, whether you want it to be 90 out in front of you or 45 out the side, or just barely out here if you want to just shave a little bit of speed. So now I'm going to show the adjustability. First I'm going to start doing the slide, and I'm going to get really nice and low and kind of light out. And then mid-slide, I'm going to start coming up a little bit more, and you'll see more weight shifted towards the front skate. So I'll just show an example of that level of adjustability. Now, the other thing to note is that you don't necessarily have to, it's not just your legs, right? And it goes along with the weight distribution aspect of it. It's a lot of the upper body has to do with this slide. You can shift your hips a little bit. You'll notice if I kind of sit back and go like that, my hips aren't completely square like they were before. You don't go like this and then pull your leg out. And that's also what I think people say, well, my leg doesn't bend that way. And I think you'd be surprised if you just use your torso and your hips to assist you. So let's look at it from a side angle. So the other aspect, besides just becoming light on this skate, is obviously that you need it at a certain angle. And when I say angle, I mean this is a 90-degree angle to the ground. You know, that's like 45 or whatever it is. Obviously, the lower the angle to the ground, the easier the skate is going to slide. And my advice is to start learning this with as low an angle as you can really do, because it's going to be less likely for you to be at too great of an angle, kind of bite the ground and send you flying. So the lower you can get, the better. You can get all the way down like that. Notice how far out my leg goes as well. Obviously, to get a lower angle, you have to get that skate out further. So now I want to just kind of show you, put an emphasis on that extension part. And you'll see it's subtle, and you'll see that I don't dig in with it. But I want you to pay attention to the sliding skate when I go and extend. And again, notice my hips aren't square the entire time like they weren't when I had my shoes off. So they're square right now. But once I start carving, I get into like this 45 degrees this way with my hips. I don't completely go sideways, right? We're not doing a power slide where we want to be like this. But you can twist them some, and it's really going to help you feel like you can actually do this, and it won't feel like, well, my legs don't twist that way, my knees don't twist that way. Carving, extend. You see, once I say extend, you'll see that my skate starts sliding. I'll do that again. Carve, extend. Now I know I've broken it down into 4 parts, that's squat, shift, carve, and extend. But it's really, once you start kind of doing it, it's really almost all one motion. Maybe the extension part is kind of a separate motion, because that's basically where your brain says, I'm done carving, this is the angle I want my skate at, and I'm going to finish. The other way you can break it down is into 3 steps, where the squat and shift is 1, the carve 2, and then the extend is 3. You may find that you want to kind of just get seated, because you can do that, right? You can get in your squat and shift while you're still rolling forward. You're going forward, it just happens to be that most of your weight is on the supporting skate, or the one that's going to be supported. And again, that weight shift can be temporary. You don't have to be completely light on this skate so that it's not stopping you. So once you know the mechanics, you can either just start doing it, or start kind of practicing bits of it. If you want to start practicing that kind of carve and lean and weight shift, squat, you can kind of do it like this. I honestly learned this skate by accident when I was trying to do a power slide. I don't know why, and I don't know how necessarily I came to be in this position, but I was about to do a forward entry power slide, and I bailed on it for some reason. I stopped doing it. But I noticed that I think my skate started sliding a little bit, and this light bulb went off, and it was like, hey, I could just stick my skate out in front of me and use that to kind of grab the ground and slide a little and control my speed. And then I started messing with it the rest of that session. I went home and looked it up, and it turns out that's what a soul slide is. So one last thing I want to show you is what this soul slide honestly opened up for me, and that is the magic slide. And I'm going to show you a version of the magic slide where I basically start in a soul slide, and then I convert it into a magic slide. And it's one of 2 different ways that I do the magic slide, and I plan on doing a different video on the magic slide specifically. But I want to show this soul to magic. So this has been How to Soul Slide, or at least How I Soul Slide. I want to thank you very much for tuning in and watching. And get out there, learn the slide. I'm telling you, you're going to love it. And you're going to use it all the time just like me once you learn it. Good luck.